What's up, guys? It's Chaos, and as you can probably tell by the fact that this is mounted in a vise, we are going to be putting together the upper receiver for the Chaos Carbine. Now, basically what I'm going to do is kind of walk you through what needs to be done for this particular application. Yours might be a little different, but we're going to go ahead and walk through this and see what needs to be done. Alright, so the first step is basically installing the barrel. And with this Daniel Defense barrel, I happen to be able to pretty much just give it a little twist there, and that will just fit right in. Sometimes you have to massage it a little bit with a hammer on the muzzle, and I got lucky and this one didn't. Some guys will actually put Loctite. I saw that Mr. Surgical Precision does that. This isn't going to be any kind of super accurate rifle, so I think that fit is good enough. The only issue is basically to put this delta ring on, I need to get it down over the barrel. And in order to do that, I need to take this front sight block unit off of here. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so as you can see, there is a pin here and a pin here. I believe that's how these are attached. I could be wrong, but I'm going to go ahead and drive those pins right out of there. And this would be something where an armorer's block would come in handy. But I do not have one. Hey, look, it came right out with just a little push. That's it. Nope, not so lucky on that back one. Let's give it some more massaging. And there it is. Okay, so in theory, I should be able to slide this forward off of the barrel. Let's see how that works out. Oh, look at me. I am awesome at this. And there you have it. You can see the notches in the barrel here and here where these pins were residing. And there is the super itty bitty gas port on this. Here's a better look at the gas block sight post combo. You can see that's where the pin goes. And there you go. You can see inside there it's machined really nicely. Rotate it around so you can see. Obviously there's your sight post. So yeah, that's going to be awesome. Alright, so now we can go ahead and install the barrel. And you'll see there's a little post here that lines up with the notch on the receiver. There you go, that's installed. Then we can take our relatively wood-chipped and banged up delta ring from the Beowulf project, and we can go ahead and basically just spin that on. Okay, so that's about as tight as I can get it with my hand. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my delta ring tool, line it up, and give it a little twist. Now, some people say that you have to torque this down about 30 foot-pounds, and I tend to believe them. You know, I'm not super knowledgeable here. Let me see if I can get that on properly and give it a little something. So I've got my torque wrench set up here, and obviously the tool. I'm going to go ahead and get that going. Alright, let me get that lined up properly. Okay, so we've got our barrel nut set up, installed and lined up so that basically you can just get into the upper receiver. And I was actually going to install this little collar into the upper receiver, but this will not fit. It's part of the gas piston system. It's basically meant for this rod to ride in, you know, much like this, but this won't actually fit into the hole in the upper receiver. Kind of unfortunate. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is basically set up our gas piston system, and we need to take this part and basically install it in here, but it is quite a tight fit. So I'm basically just going to massage it until I can get the holes lined up to where they need to be. Okay, after some extensive massaging, I was able to get this to fit in here where it's supposed to fit, and the holes are lined up. I just got to put the pin in there. The gas port is lined up. This basically replaces the gas tube and interacts as such like a piston system. So I'm going to go ahead and just drive the pin in there, if I can find it. I got this really nice roll pin starting tool. You just give it a couple taps and it goes right home. And now I can just tap this. Let me move so you guys can see this. See, the pin is started in there, and we're just going to go ahead and hammer it home. Okay, so that's all installed, and now I'm going to assemble the operating rod, as it were. Make sure the holes line up. There we go. This basically, I guess you want to do it like this. Slides in here and then locks around the post here to hold it in place. And there you go. There it is, locked in place. And this basically slides back and forth here as the piston system. Okay, so I've got my actual piston in. Now I can slide the gas block spigot system over there, get everything lined up, make sure it moves freely, and then put the pins back in. They will only go in one way. Tap them home. Grab my other pin here. Okay, so we've got our pins hammered home. Our piston system does not bind up. And obviously that will work in a little bit. It's hitting the Delrin a little bit inside of there. And now all we need to do is put on the AB Arms handguard and then the Aris armor thing. So I'm going to go ahead and get these handguards on. Alright, so there's what it looks like. This was actually separating a little bit. I'm assuming it's from just sitting in the packaging a little, you know, too long perhaps. So what I've done is I've got a rubber band around it so it can basically kind of get used to being on this forearm. But it's looking pretty mean so far. We're going to go ahead and get the bolt carrier set up to rock and roll. I'm going to set this aside. Okay, from the factory, the Fail Zero Ops 416 does not come with a bolt, a firing pin, a cam pin, or a firing pin retaining pin. So basically, I'm just going to go ahead and install this stuff. The gas rings that are on this bolt can actually come off, so I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, so you can see that the gas rings are coming right off of here. I just stuck a screwdriver underneath them, and now I can just pull them off. Alright, so we've got our gas rings off, and now I can just go ahead and insert the bolt into the bolt carrier. Take out my firing pin, set the bag aside of course. Take out the cam pin, and take out the retaining pin. Go ahead, oop, that just slid right out. Go ahead and put the cam pin in the bolt as such. Make sure it moves freely. There isn't a gas key on top of here, so you don't have to worry about being able to rotate this. It just needs to be in there properly. So then you go ahead and stick the firing pin in the rear, and then come around the other side with the retaining pin. So we've got our retaining pin in there. Just had to kind of fiddle with it a little bit to get it in. This rotates freely, and as you can see, the firing pin is installed. So now we're ready to install this into the upper. Alright, so we've got our upper here. We've got the bolt carrier and the charging handle. Take the charging handle, and there are two slots that this lines up with. It will kind of snap into place somewhat. Okay, so you can see the tabs on the side of the charging handle. If I rotate that a little bit, you can see them. And those actually line up with slots in the upper receiver and basically drop into the track, and then you can move it back and forth. It's kind of like a guide for them. Alright, so we'll go ahead and slide this into the track. Make sure the bolt is forward on this. Invert it, and go ahead and slide it along with the charging handle forward into the upper receiver, and then it will lock on the tab here. And basically that is the completed upper here. As you can see, there is no dust cover here. This is the way it's going to be for this gun. There's no brass deflector to save weight. There's no forward assist. And I kind of like the way this nickel boron bolt carrier looks, you know, exposed. The last step is to take this off, basically, and install the Aris Armor. Okay, so here is a close-up of the Aris Armor muzzle device, the effin-a compensator. I did not get a chance to put this in the last video, so you guys can get a good close-up look. Just unscrewing the cap here. That's what it looks like. This is a really nice piece of metal there. So there it is. Now I'm going to go ahead and install this per Aris Armor's instructions. Okay, so on the instructions it says to put spring washers onto the threaded portion of the muzzle, and then you need one for the cap as well. So I have 2 on there. You get 3. I have 2 on the muzzle, and I'm just going to go ahead and start installing this. Basically crank it down by hand, get it nice and tight, and then it says to take an Allen key and basically put it through the middle of this and use that to tighten it up. And I think that's about as tight as it's going to go. Yeah, that's not breaking loose by hand. So there's that, and now I can place the spring washer on the end here and install the cap. Say you can take the bent portion of an Allen key and kind of do that and tighten it that way. Alright, so that's about as tight as it's going to get. I can't break that loose by hand, and I would call that installed. Now, they say to leave it open for your first shooting. They want you to get it real hot and then kind of tighten it a little more, because what you're compensating for is expanding metal. So I'm going to go ahead and do that when I test fire this. I'm going to crank it down, and that'll be that. They also say leave it open so that you can basically tune it, and I'll do a complete separate video on that. So let me go ahead and basically put the rifle together and let you guys see it. Alright guys, there it is, the Chaos Carbine. I put a magazine in there just to give an idea what it'll look like. Magpul CTR stock, Mako grip, DPMS upper, blah 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 blah. Go watch the parts videos if you want to know what's in it. You can see the AB arms thing is still a little separated. I'll put the rubber band around it and hope it evens out a bit. But yeah, I'm really excited to try this out. I should have some ammo soon, and we should be rock and rolling test firing this thing. Thanks for watching. Make sure everything's stable. And I am an idiot.